Yo, what's going on, guys? We're back with episode 6 of Bullony Basketball. I'm here with my co-host, Johnny. What's going up, Johnny?
What's going on, Garrett? Great to can't wait to talk.
You're kind of, breaking up a little bit.
You're not. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. I said, what's going on? Great to be back. Just can't wait to talk some more basketball.
Me as well. We got a nice show for you guys today. No specific order of how we're kind of doing this. We're going to start off, actually, with a team I feel like we haven't really talked about, and that's the Charlotte Hornets, because I don't think many people are talking about them. But they just played the Pistons and the Knicks, and both Malik Monk and Devontae Graham hit crazy game winners. So I believe the Hornets, I think they played last night and lost, I'm pretty sure. But I think they're roughly around 500. So do you think that they have a real chance of making the playoffs?
No, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're already more than halfway to a lot of experts and analysts win projection, which is something crazy considering we're just in mid to end of November. But they're playing super well. Devontae Graham's been a great story. Starting to really figure it out. But to me, the biggest thing is their coach, James Borrego, who comes from the Greg Popovich coaching tree, has out-coached Pop this year, and it's just crazy to think about it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the window is definitely open for them because considering it seems like the top 6 teams in the East are so far ahead of everyone else. And then, you got the 7 and 8 seed right now are the Nets and Magic. And actually, Nikola Vucevic, just before our show, it was announced that he's injured for a while. He's going to miss some time. And then Kyrie Irving, he's missed some games too. So, I mean, who knows? I think getting in the playoffs in the East, it would probably take roughly a 500 record. And they're kind of around there. And they're going to be competing every single game.
Yeah, it's just a matter of if they can close out these games going forward. So, we'll see. Obviously, a great story thus far. But who knows? Who knows how long this is going to stay. It's like Phoenix. How long is it going to stay? Phoenix is a better team, but they're in a harder division. Hornets are a worse team. They're in a division that's not as strong, so we'll see if either of them continue to pan out.
Yeah, it should be pretty neat to see. Our next topic is going to be about LeBron James. He just accomplished a feat. He became the first person ever to get a triple-double against every single team. What do you think about LeBron this season? Are we putting him back at the top of the NBA, best player in the league status, or not quite? It's kind of still up in the air, or what?
I think top 3. I think my top 3 at the moment goes Giannis, Kawhi, LeBron, but I'm kind of flip-flopping with the Kawhi, LeBron. Certainly top 3. Playing like he means it this year, throwing some revenge back, having AD not having to do as much so his stats look a lot better. I mean, it's just hard to ever discount LeBron. He's like Tom Brady in football. You're never gonna, no matter how old he gets, we can't count him out. So I think this is really cool, his whole triple-double against every single team. It's something that's cool. It's an accomplishment. But are we going to say that having a triple-double against every single team is better than just having more overall triple-doubles? And that's kind of where I'm getting, stumped on this.
Yeah, people are already saying that, Westbrook will get there in, a few months whenever he plays the Thunder. Because I think he only has, the Thunder and the Clippers. I think they play the Clippers coming up maybe tomorrow or something. But, yeah, so, it's still a pretty amazing feat to do. I would like to see, and I've said this many times on Twitter, and a lot of Lakers fans come at me every time I say it, but I want to see how LeBron is playing against a lot of the contenders in the West, because, I feel like some of his best matchups so far, you could argue the Jazz, but they had some people missing. You also have the Mavericks, but I mean, we don't really know what their ceiling is for this year yet. So it's kind of hard to, put into perspective how significant this is. I'm not ready to necessarily give him the title back, but I don't know. I'd still lean a little bit toward Kawhi, but we'll have to see just how the season ends out.
I mean, and we have to wait. To me, judging if LeBron is the best player or not, we have to wait till the playoffs, just because he might be coasting. I don't think he's coasting as much as he did last year, but I'm sure he's still taking plays off, and come playoff time, he's not going to do that. So he might not be the best player in the regular season, but he might turn it back on for the playoffs. So that's something to just monitor going forward. But that's kind of what I like about Giannis. That's what I like about Harden, is that they're going 100% even in the regular season, and it may not seem the same with LeBron.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned Kawhi. I think part of it is that, like, Kawhi's kind of been, like, the lone, and I know Lou Williams has played insane, Montrezl Harrell has played insane, but he hasn't really had, like, a second, like, star around him, I'd say. And I mean, now he has Paul George back, and that leads us into our next topic, where Paul George is actually playing insane. I forget where I heard it from, but someone said, like, he's basically scoring like 100 points per minute or something like that, like, just as a joke. But yeah, we got to see them yesterday play against the Celtics. Let's talk about that game. Did you see that game more as just what the Clippers could be when they're all, like, playing at their best, or just how good the Celtics are?
I don't know. I think, first of all, probably the best game all year in regards that we've actually seen a real basketball game where it wasn't one of those Rockets games where it was just 150 to 148. Like, this is what basketball is supposed to be. Two of the best coached teams, two of the better defenses in the league. But in regards to the Clippers, they're going to be scary. Just wait until Paul George gets his legs under him. Wait until Kawhi starts to turn it into go mode as the season progresses. They have three legit guys who could each take the last shot on just about any other team in the league, and that's scary.
Yeah, their defense is just, like, insanely scary. Like, it almost seemed like Kemba Walker hardly had a chance yesterday, because I know he shot, like, I think 4 of 17. It's tough, like, when you have, like, Kawhi on you one play, and then Paul George the next, and then Patrick Beverley the next one. Like, and even Lou Williams was playing pretty good defense yesterday, so, like...
I mean, and just the depth.
Yeah.
The depth to get them through the regular season, too. Like, they can go 11 deep in the regular season, and come playoff time, if they really want, they could even go, like, 9 deep. So it's just crazy to think.
Yeah, and they even had, like, Landry Shamet didn't even play. He would give them a good, like, 3-point presence off the bench, too. Like, it should be really interesting to see how the Clippers end up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see. I mean, I just want to see the playoffs. I just can't wait for the playoffs. I mean, I'm not trying to get too far ahead, but it's just crazy.
Yeah. Moving on, though, to our next topic. You just mentioned the Rockets, but James Harden, he's currently averaging just under 40 points a game. I think he's like at 38.5 or something right now, which is insane in itself. Granted, his efficiency has kind of been a little bit down, but what do you think? Do you think this is going to affect him in the playoffs? Because we've seen it the last few years where it's like Harden goes crazy in the regular season, and then it almost seems like he runs out of gas in the playoffs. Or do you think that this is just the year? Because, I mean, the Warriors aren't there really anymore.
I don't think his problem has been running out of gas. I think his problem is, or just the Rockets' problem in general, is in the regular season, they're just up and down. They're just running, transition team the whole just up and down the whole game. And then you got Harden, who's just here drawing fouls. Come playoff time, the game becomes a half-court game. Refs aren't calling as many fouls, and that's where Harden's losing everything. It's just that he's not getting the calls he gets in the regular season, and that's the big issue.
Yeah, it's just I'm really interested to see how it works in the playoffs, because I know we've seen, like, with the Thunder, like, last year when they played the Blazers and the last game they were up I think like 15, and then like Westbrook took a lot of shots down the stretch, even though like Paul George had the hot hand, and then they ended up like losing in kind of embarrassing fashion where Lillard waved them goodbye. But I don't know, like that might be a problem with the Rockets unless Westbrook adjusts his game, or like one of those two is going to have to probably make an adjustment. And James Harden's got to be aggressive too, because I mean last year when Durant got hurt in Game 5, they made that huge comeback and they couldn't execute because James Harden didn't look interested in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the whole thing is just that the game slows down so much, and that's just what really affects the Rockets is they can't do what they've always done. And so then they get frustrated, they think they're getting a lack of calls, and then the whole game just flips, and they just don't know where to go from there.
Yeah, but moving on to our next topic, this one is insane. Ben Simmons hit a three-pointer. He finally hit a three-pointer. Now, let's not over-exaggerate. It's literally just one three-pointer. But do you think he's going to, start shooting them more often when he's open? Because we still see times where it's like he brings the ball up the floor. They're not hardly guarding him at the three-point line. He's mainly looking to like run through the offense and stuff like that. Do you think that's going to kind of give him confidence to shoot more? And do you think that the defenders are going to, pay a little bit more attention to that now?
I don't know. I don't really see him taking more. I mean, he'll take like a couple or whatever, but it's not like he's going to be shooting one a game or something now. I don't know what he was thinking when he shot it, because if I'm a defense, I'm still going to give it to him wide open. Like until he proves to hit him consistently, until he proves to just take him consistently, like I'm going to let him keep doing it. I'm just going to keep sagging off. I'm going to give him that shot, and if he wants it, go ahead and take it, because I'd much rather him shoot a three than, play up tight on him, and then he burns by me and makes plays. You know what I mean? So just sag off. If he wants a three, let him take the three.
Right. I think he's got to just, kind of prove himself. Like, if he wants to, be a threat out there, he's going to have to, like, start taking more and making more. But I feel like he can make them, because I'm pretty sure, like, back in high school, I mean, I only saw him play once in high school, but he was hitting threes, Like, I mean, he wasn't, like, a sharpshooter like J.J. Redick or something like that. But, I mean, he was capable of hitting the three-pointer. Now, granted, it's a high school three-point line, but still, like, he was not shying away from shooting a three-pointer if he had it. So, I think maybe, like, this could be, like, a little bit of a switch. And I think the main part of it is if he's wide open in a playoff game from the three-point line and they're not guarding him, like, he has to be able to hit that shot. Like, he doesn't have to do, like a James Harden and create his own three-pointer, or he doesn't have to do, like, Steph Curry and play around the three-point line. But he has to be able to hit the open ones, is what I think, if he's going to be a point guard in the NBA. But, so now moving on to Ben Simmons' former teammate, actually, who also didn't really have that great of a jump shot for the longest time. Markelle Fultz had a career high against the Wizards. He hit a couple three-pointers. He had a couple dunks, too. Do you think he's finally getting his confidence back?
Slowly but surely. I think it was a big confidence boost. Kind of getting put in the starting lineup. Steve Clifford showing confidence in him. So that's great. I think he's getting it. It's going to take time. It might not, like, we're obviously not going to see the best of him this year, but we just need to see him keep improving, keep trending in the right direction, and that's what appears to be happening at the moment. So I'm going to keep monitoring it. He's not really surrounded by a ton of great shooters, which I think might limit him to a bit. The team doesn't have a ton of spacing, so that might hinder him in a way, but I think he's just going to keep improving. Like, he's clearly the best point guard on their team.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, it all depends on, like, how much opportunity he's getting in the offense, because it seems like sometimes out there, I mean, he's deferring mainly to like Evan Fournier or Vucevic, and rightfully so. I mean, Vucevic was an All-Star last year. Evan Fournier's been like a 15 point per game scorer like the last like 4 years or so. So it makes sense. But those guys are kind of, I think they're nearing the age of 30, and I don't see this team. I could see this team being a playoff team for many years with those like Fournier, Vucevic, Terrence Ross, and those guys. But ultimately, they're not gonna contend for a championship. At least I don't think. So I feel like.
And I'm sorry.
I was gonna say like, in about maybe probably 2 years, they might decide to move on because they do have Mo Bamba, they have Jonathan Isaac as well, and then I feel like it would kind of give Markelle Fultz more opportunity in the offense. But just from what we're seeing with what he's able to do, he's looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, absolutely, no complaints there. He's like I said, he's just gonna keep going up. My just biggest thing with them is the Magic don't really play Fournier and Ross together, and that's kind of what gives them their best spacing lineup.
Yeah. Now we did just talk about the Clippers Celtics not too long ago, but let's talk about the Celtics game before that. They played the Kings, and the Kings snapped their 10-game win streak. What do you think of the Kings? I mean, they started off like 0-5, and now they've won 6 of their last 8. So, are the Kings back and better than last year?
Are you telling me that they should trade both De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley?
I mean, what do you think?
No, they're obviously not going to trade him. But I think it's a great thing for them, knowing that they can do this without them, so that when these guys come back, they're in a position to win. But they're set up right now to just, for the return of both Fox and Bagley, like they're setting themselves up in a good position. Bogdanovich is playing great the last 5 games, so I think that's something that's big because he couldn't really find his game earlier on. So it's just giving other guys an opportunity to stand out and then kind of let Luke Walton know who should play when these guys return.
Yeah, and I think it makes teams that are that we expected to make the playoffs at the beginning of the year, like the Trailblazers, the Spurs that are right now on the outside. I might I don't know. I feel like it's gonna kind of serve as more of a hindrance. It's gonna be harder, for them. They're probably looking at it like, oh shoot, because I mean they knew that there was gonna be at least one spot that's like iffy. And then now the Warriors got hurt. They're like probably thinking like, oh, like then we shouldn't have a problem making it. But now you got a team like the Kings who are 6-2 in their last 8, and they don't even have their starting point guard or power forward. So I mean that if they can keep up this play, or just maybe a little bit worse at the lowest point, then they'll be a playoff team.
Yeah, until we really see the bottom half of the West shake out, it's anybody's ball game, like minus the Warriors and I forget. There's another team down there that really seems out of contention, but other than that, it's just an open race. Like it's gonna take time to solidify.
Yeah, I think the Pelicans, right? I'm pretty sure the Pelicans are down there.
Yeah, they might be down there, but I honestly, depending on how quick some of their injuries pan out, like who knows? Like they might find themselves back in the game. It's still early. It's not super early, but there's still time if we really think about it.
Yeah, and moving on to the Spurs, Popovich just got ejected in one of their most recent games, and then Tim Duncan and Becky Hammon both took over to coach. It would have made history, I'm pretty sure, as Becky Hammon being the first woman to win an NBA game as a coach, because she took over at that point. But what's going on with the Spurs? I feel like that's the biggest thing right here.
Oops, sorry. I think she would have actually been the first woman head coach ever, regardless win or loss. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's an overreaction or a false statement to say that Pop's been one of the worst 5 coaches this year. This Spurs team needs to trade DeMar, needs to probably trade LaMarcus Aldridge, if they can find anybody in their right mind to take Marco Bellinelli, do that, or just waive him. But start playing Lonnie Walker, bring a new face in, do something. But clearly DeMar DeRozan isn't very. He's putting up points. He's just not. It just doesn't seem like he's interested in doing anything. He just seems like he wants his money. Ever since leaving the Raptors, he's been kind of sad, understandably so. But he just can't really find his footing. And I think there's no need to wait. Like, just bring in the next generation of players. There's no need for them to compete for the 8th seed. Like, just restart. You have building blocks. You have DeJounte Murray. You have Derek White.
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker's young. So they still have bright spots, but they just need some new faces.
Well, I feel like if they're going to make trades and kind of blow it up, like get rid of DeRozan and Aldridge, they might honestly trade one of their young guards. And I know Spurs fans might not like that because that's probably what they want. And I think they should trade one of their guards probably because it just seems like they don't have any young big men. And, I mean, that's kind of a concern. I mean, they got like Lonnie Walker, Bryn Forbes, DeJounte Murray, and yeah. But it should be, it's just going to be weird. Like, because I don't think they're making the playoffs now. And, I mean, I didn't really think they were, like, the past week or so. And I never had them as a lock, but I don't think it's going to be just odd, you know? Like, it's never happened, like, throughout my whole lifetime that the Spurs haven't made the playoffs.
I know. It's crazy. Obviously, at this rate, they're not going to... Sure, they could trade a guard, but I just think they just need to get younger. And so, for that reason, I think just get rid of DeRozan and Aldridge would be what I think, but who knows what the front office is thinking. I generally trust Pop and R.C. Buford and that whole Spurs organization, so we'll see which direction they go.
Yeah, I just think, like, in the right now, they definitely need to get rid of DeRozan and Aldridge, but, like, down the line, one of those guards, so, like, Forbes, Walker, DeJounte Murray, those guys, one of those guys could be gone. But moving on to our next topic, regarding Andre Iguodala. We mentioned a few weeks ago on the show that the Lakers were supposedly like the favorites to get him, and it was like already set in stone. But apparently, another report came out saying that the Nuggets are the biggest threat at Iguodala. He played there for 1 year after he got traded in that like big 4-team trade. But would you like Andre Iguodala on the Nuggets? Do you think like that's a really good fit, or do they even need him? Because they have like a ton of depth already.
Yeah, my one issue with it would be the depth, but they could use a big game playoff player, and for that reason, I would not have any issues with him joining the Nuggets. But they still need, they need to make a move at some point. Like, you can't have 12 guys that deserve minutes playing 10 in the regular season and probably only gonna get to 8 or 9 in the playoffs. Right. So something has to be done, and maybe it starts with Iguodala. I don't know. Any playoff team would be smart to just accept Iguodala. So if he shows interest in joining them, like, that's a no-brainer for me. Like, yeah, find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, they definitely. I'm assuming it'd be by way of a trade because I don't think Iguodala has like any intentions in signing with them. So they would most likely have to trade one of their small forwards. So that being like Will Barton or Torrey Craig. I wouldn't trade Michael Porter Jr. But and I mean the way Will Barton played in the playoffs last year, like he was kind of their biggest concern. I know Nuggets fans were really like angry with his performance. He even got benched midway through that Spurs series. So he might be the one traded for Iguodala, and it could show dividends when it comes playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what they really decide to do, but it's going to be interesting.
Next up, we got a quote from our guy, D. Rose. He came out and said, if load management were a thing when I was playing, like, you know, back in his days where he was an all-star, it could have kept him with the Bulls today. So, and this isn't just like a thing about D. Rose, but we could think about like, you know, other players like, you know, Blake Griffin, like Eric Gordon before he was kind of really good before he had those injuries, Gallinari, and then like greats like Yao Ming, Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway. Do you think that load management would have helped a lot of those guys, or do you think this is kind of only a thing towards D Rose, or do you think like it's wrong altogether?
Well, I think it'll help anybody that decides to implement it. Just giving your body those days off, those minutes off, is huge. Playing for Tom Thibodeau didn't help, to be fair. Playing upper 30s in minutes never helps.
Yeah, and Rose,
the injuries are still going to happen, even when people are on load management. All it would do is lower the risk. So, we can't be certain about that.
In Rose's case, if Thibodeau coached last year, and load management was a thing, but it's not like he really changed his play style of mainly playing the starters, hardly playing the bench guys. But
exactly.
So I don't know if it would have necessarily been different for him. Now, if you look at maybe some other guys that had injuries like over time, maybe like Blake Griffin or I don't know, like Yao Ming or something like that, Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, then it maybe could have benefited them. But who knows? I mean, they're all kind of just big what ifs, and I'm sure we're wishing guys like D Rose and Eric Gordon, because a lot of people don't remember Eric Gordon was pretty good with the Clippers, and then once he went to the Pelicans, he had injury issues and stuff.
Yeah, he was a walking bucket.
Yeah. Moving on to our next topic, Ray Allen. He last played his NBA game in 2014 with the Heat in the finals, but he said he would have returned to Boston if Kevin Durant signed. Well, first of all, we'll mention this. Do you think Ray Allen in 2016 would have been a huge contributor to that Celtics team? And then, do you think it was even realistic that Kevin Durant signed? Because I know there used to be rumors about him potentially going to the Celtics.
Having one of the greatest shooters of all time, I know he was aging, I know he was older. I don't see how he couldn't have helped that team. But it comes back to a lot of what ifs, right? So we can only say that we think he would have, but there were rumors about just about every big star. Are they going to trade for Anthony Davis? Is this going to happen? But they just never wanted to get rid of those assets, and so they're just staying with what they had originally. But just imagine if those guys were on. Just imagine if that was actually what happened. That would be crazy.
Yeah, because that was when they had Isaiah Thomas, who was just a 20. This was the year before, he averaged 29 points a game. They had Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley, all those guys, they'd be a pretty good, minus Isaiah Thomas, they'd be a pretty good defensive team, but IT would definitely give you buckets on offense, and then obviously Kevin Durant, that's literally a top 2, top 3 player in the whole entire league. And they made the conference finals in 2017. So just imagine if they had Kevin Durant.
That was without Kyrie too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the year before Kyrie, I'm pretty sure. And then So
yeah. Well, I'm talking about what was the year when Tatum led them? That had to be 2 years ago. That had to be 17.
That was 2 years after the Durant thing.
Okay.
It was IT's last year would have been Durant's first year, I think. But that still would have been an insane team.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna move on to our next topic. It's our NBA award predictions. 1 month in, because now we're 1 month into the season. It's kind of insane. It's been going by pretty fast, but they've been pretty fun games to watch. So let's just go down the line. MVP, who do you have so far?
I have Giannis.
I also have Giannis, actually. I have Giannis because the Bucks, I feel have played a huge strength and schedule. Now, I know there's other people up there, James Harden's averaging 40. LeBron, he's playing out of his mind, leading the Lakers to the best record. And then Luka, who's just doing insane things.
Jeez, I know.
By the way, Luka, if you're ever watching this, or if you're watching this recently. Can you just like not win MVP this year or maybe next year? I kind of want D Rose to be the youngest MVP of all time. But anyways, yeah, Giannis is averaging like 30, 14, and like 7, and he doesn't have Chris Middleton healthy right now, so I just think it's kind of insane what he's doing.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He's such a freak athlete. Like, everybody in the league is so athletic, and then it's like Giannis is a man playing amongst boys. It's crazy.
Moving on to our Rookie of the Year. You want to go first for this one?
Yeah, sure. I have John Moran at the moment. I just think he's playing too well to not win it. Kendrick Nunn was up there, but I ultimately went with Ja.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year is usually just an award that they give to like the best statistical rookie. Doesn't really matter too much about like your success or anything like that, unless it's like a year like I mean, it's even hard to say for 2018 because the two front runners in like Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons were both like really good teams. But yeah, I also have Ja Morant. I think this is the only award that I've stuck with from 1 month ago. So I guess there's that. Sixth man of the year so far. Who do you have?
I have Dragic at the moment. I couldn't. I was thinking a couple other people, but I just ultimately went with Goran Dragic. I think the way the Heat are playing, him being the first guy off the bench, but I'm not positive. I'm not positive that I'm going to keep him here very long.
That's an interesting pick. I'll say that. I mean, he's not playing bad at all. I just, it's not the person I would think of. But I'm gonna go with. I actually didn't go with Lou Williams, which I mean I feel like is like the favorite or anything. I actually went with Devontae Graham. He's literally playing out of his mind. I think he's averaging like 18 and 8 a game, or 18 and 7 a game, or something like that.
Isn't he starting now?
He's starting at the moment, but I don't think he's going to be a starter
I
for.
thought about him, but I wasn't sure what his qualifications were at this moment. So
yeah,
I considered him. I saw him starting a bit lately, so I kind of just assumed that he was going to start, and so I didn't really consider him.
Yeah, I think they slid him in just because they had injuries right now, because he's playing the shooting guard along Rozier. But, I mean, if he continues to start, then I guess I'll have to change my pick. But, yeah. So, our Defensive Player of the Year, I'll go first on this one. I have Jonathan Isaac. He's literally just... He's showing Kawhi Leonard potential on defense. Now, offensively, that'll be a different story because we haven't seen enough to know about that. But defensively, he looks like he could have the potential to be as good of a guy like Kawhi Leonard or even MJ, defensively.
Yeah, he's been crazy good on the defensive end. I wasn't sure exactly where to go with this, but I have Marcus Smart at the moment, just considering that at his height he's been checking all these big guys and playing so well. And Jonathan Isaac's up there, Rudy Gobert's up there, but I just lean Marcus Smart at the moment.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is that I feel like a guy like Marcus Smart, kind of like Klay Thompson has been over the years, he gets overlooked. In terms of the top tier of defense. He'll make an all defensive team or something like that, or he'll be close to that. But I feel like they overlook a lot of the guards, really. Because I don't think I've ever heard Patrick Beverley in Defensive Player of the Year talks, but he's always an all defensive team and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Isaac has the defensive stats for steals and blocks going his way as well that I don't think Marcus Smart necessarily has. But I just think impact-wise that Marcus Smart has just been such a good defender for the team, guarding guys that are consistently 4, 5, 6 inches taller than him, and that's just crazy.
Yeah. Most improved player, I'll go first. I have Malcolm Brogdon. I think he's literally playing insane. His playmaking for his teammates has just been unworldly. I don't think anyone could have really predicted that he'd be this good of a facilitator at this point. But yeah, I know he's injured right now, but assuming he comes back relatively soon, I don't think there's really like a timetable thing because it's probably like a not too severe injury. But if he comes back soon, I think he'll definitely be an all-star this year.
Yeah, I could see it for sure. Before I make my pick, is Luka Doncic in the question? Let's say that.
I would say so.
Okay, my pick is not Luka. I have Fred VanVleet at the moment.
Okay, that's pretty fair. I really haven't. I'll admit, I haven't really.
Sorry, go ahead. I just without Lowry at the moment, he's been playing out of his mind. So I considered him, but it's still so early that a big 3-game stretch from a player really swings the pendulum one way or the other. So it's kind of hard to pick these at the moment. So that's just kind of where I lean.
Yeah, I feel like if any team has like the most candidates for most improved players, probably the Raptors, honestly, because they got, OG Anunoby's up there, Chris Boucher's up there. They just have like a ton of guys. But going back to like what you said about Luka, yeah, I don't know if he will get credit for most improved player because it's usually like a mid-tier award nowadays. But I mean, you look at when Giannis won it, like he was an all-star in the league and probably one of the top 10 players in the league at that point. So I think it's definitely possible for Luka to win it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Ultimately, I don't think he will, but
right.
I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Coach of the year, who do you have for this one?
I have Frank Vogel at the moment. I know a lot of Coach of the Year is built a lot around team's record. So to me, it was between Vogel and Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens may have been maybe doing a better job, but I just think Frank Vogel will get the vote at the moment.
Yeah. I really had 3 candidates on here, and I didn't put either Frank Vogel or Brad Stevens. I mean, I guess I could have put Brad Stevens on here, but I was just kind of thinking, like, the reason is because, like, the opportunity presented itself. Like, they lost Kyrie, they lost Al Horford, so someone had to fill in the starting spot, and I feel like now it just kind of, like, all makes sense in itself. But my 3 candidates that I had at the top, I'm going to probably end up picking one, but I had Monty Williams, Eric Spoelstra, and Nick Nurse. But if I had to pick one, I would probably say Eric Spoelstra. And, I mean, Monty Williams was really close, but the Suns have been, like, they've lost their last 2 games. They do play tonight, though. And then Nick Nurse, it's also really close as well because they've had a lot of injuries. But, yeah, I didn't think that all these young guys for the Heat were going to be playing as well. So I got to give it to Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly up there. I think the problem with it is that it just goes to coaches with the best record. So for me, that's kind of why I picked that. But it's not necessarily to say that I think Frank Vogel's done the best job this year. It's just who I think will actually win.
Yeah. And now we're in our final hurrah of the show. And that's the daily picks. Last week, I did pretty bad. I got like 2 of the 6 right. Johnny, you didn't do too bad. You got 4 of the 6 correct. And right now we're waiting on this Bucks-Blazers game, which looks like the Bucks are going to win unless the Blazers have a final run in them. And we both picked the Bucks last week. But moving on to this week coming up. So Friday, we got the Atlanta Hawks and the Detroit Pistons. Who are you taking on that one?
I'll take the Pistons.
I'm going to go with the Hawks, actually, just because the Pistons have been playing so bad. And who knows? Maybe, I mean, I feel like I pick the Pistons every time. Maybe if I pick the Hawks, maybe the Pistons will actually win, which I don't know. Saturday, the Heat against the 76ers. Who you got in that one?
You said the first team again?
The Miami Heat.
Oof. The matchup. Do you know where they're playing?
They're playing in Philly.
Give me the Heat.
Is it because of the Jimmy Butler thing?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler return.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, Jimmy Butler is going to come in there. He's just going to be like, nah, dude, like, you guys like messed up, whatever. Like I'm gonna come in here and just like kill you guys. I also picked the Heat. Sunday we got the Pelicans against the Clippers. Who do you got in that one?
I'll take the Clips.
Yeah, I'm also gonna take the Clippers. I don't think the Pelicans can beat the Clippers 2 times, especially if everyone's healthy for the Clippers. Monday you got the Hornets against the Heat. Who are you taking?
Hornets versus the Heat. I'll take the Heat again.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Heat in that one. Tuesday, this should be a pretty good game. The Clippers at Dallas playing the Mavericks.
See, I feel like this is a game where one of George or Leonard will not play, and so I'm going to think ahead and take the Mavs.
I looked at their schedule. I think they play this game and then they play the Grizzlies the next day. So if they like rest one or the other, like then yeah, they'll definitely kind of be more at a disadvantage. But I really don't know. I feel like I'm not sure what Paul George's status is so far on back-to-backs. I'm going to assume that Kawhi only plays one of these 2 games, and it's going to be against the Mavericks, so that's why I have the Clippers winning this. And then Wednesday, we got the Bulls against the Warriors. Who are you taking in that one?
Bulls, Warriors. I kind of, being a Bulls fan, it hurts me, but I kind of think the Warriors are going to win it.
I'm actually going to go with the Bulls. I'm going to believe in my team. As of right now, I mean, they just beat... I mean, it seems like the only team they can beat is the Pistons, honestly. But, who knows? And then next Thursday, no games, because it's Thanksgiving. So that's going to conclude basically everything for this episode. Johnny, you have anything to say before we get off?
Not anything that I can think of at the moment. Another great episode. Great talking again, and can't wait to be back next Thursday.
Me too. We're going to catch the end of this Blazers-Bucks game. Right now, Carmelo Anthony is playing insane. Kind of. But I think CJ McCollum is playing a little bit better. But they got to get the win. But yeah, so we're going to catch you guys next week on episode 7 of Bullony Basketball. So, yeah, peace.
Later.